think maybe we can take it from what we started with talking about. We started to, Yappy started to ask me, how are you feeling today, Gina? And I was sharing with you that I feel so much better than I've been feeling over the last couple of days. And we slept 11 hours, and we had a very nice bed to stay here. And yeah, I would say a lot of comfort in comparison to how we've been living over the last week, where we had less of this comfort.
Yeah. yeah, that's really, it's an enormous difference to be here, and it also has a lot to do with some lessons we have been learning over the last days about ourselves, about what we need, and about what we feel more distant to, you could say. It's funny. I'm laughing because sometimes you need to be a little bit careful about the way you say things. And I really like this little aspect of how do you say this? Like, it's always good to consider the feelings of other people, and especially when you share about things. I need to get a little thing out of the way from my screen. When you share about personal experiences from places that you've been, it's always good to talk about it from a perspective of yourself and what you learned about it.
It's interesting. What comes to my mind when you say this right now is one thing that I keep coming back to, what I also shared with you a few days ago. We were reading about it actually. Is there's a book which is called the Four Agreements, and the second agreement says don't take anything personally that another person does or says.
Yeah.
And this is something that is really useful, that for me feels super useful. Not in every situation, that's important to say as well, but can be super useful. So it also helps one not feeling hurt so easily from other people's actions.
Yeah, and the perspective that I had on that when I heard it for the first time, there's an orange falling on the floor. And now I give it to Gina. What will she do with it? Okay. Not taking things personal. Yeah. One of the perspectives that came up when we were talking about that was that for me, taking things personal, or you could also say, because I think what most people interpret as taking things personal is being hurt by something somebody says, for instance. And in this book, taking something personal is it's talked about as if it's something that you could just easily decide to do, or it's talked about in a way that it looks like it's very, very how do you say, like very accessible to everybody as long as you know how to do it, something like that. And it sounds to me like it's a very the way it's written, I interpret it as a very mental way of looking at it, or very much looked at it from a thoughts perspective, you could say.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this, I want to finish my. The reason why I say this is because what came up for me while hearing it, also because Gina was reading it to me in the car, is that there's a lot more to situations where you get hurt, for instance, than just taking something personal. It's also about the energy that somebody has, for instance. So if somebody has a very intense energy and tells you something negative, for instance, about yourself, you feel it in a totally different way than if somebody has a very light energy and tells you something negative about yourself. In both cases, the information is negative about yourself, but the way somebody tells it is maybe even more important for whether or not you will get hurt by it. And I felt that the book was written in a way that this does not have any influence on if you take something personal or not, or if you get hurt by something or not. But in my experience, the energies that we put out and just the radiance that we have into the world, you could say, that has so much influence on how a message comes across, that I felt that this information in this book was not very accurate. Let's put it that way, or you could say it was not complete at all. Yeah.
Mm. 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 I find it super interesting that you see this. It seems to me like it seems to me like an extension to what is already in the book in a way. Not necessarily that you think it's not that way, but there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I find this very interesting. And this topic, what you would like to add to that, or the extension of it, of like the energy that you send out in the world, the energy you use to say something to someone, the energy you use to communicate something, the energy you do things with or in, is super essential. And it can have a very big impact, especially when it comes to interpersonal relations, or like, let's say, relations between people. So the way you treat someone, the way you talk to someone, the way you do something for someone or with someone is super important.
It is key.
It is
Absolutely.
key.
The way, the key word is the way you do it. It's way more, as in my experience, it's way more crucial for the vibes and for the whether or not you take something personal, or whether or not it hurts you or hits you emotionally, the way somebody does something or says something. So if it's with a lot of aggression, but you say to somebody that you love the person with a lot of aggression, then maybe the person will not feel that loved, maybe. But if you say with a warm energy and really open and really in a way that the other person really is seen, and the way the other person actually feels seen. So if you take a perspective, you take a posture, or how do you say, like an intention of also wanting to give the other person space. If you take that energy and then you tell somebody, I love you, I think you're going to feel more loved than when it's with a lot of aggression or a lot of force behind it. Because then it's more about yourself, it's more about you wanting to force something on somebody. And the other person doesn't get space in you forcing something, you know? Only if somebody's going to force back, but is that really what you want? If you love somebody, you want to give somebody space, right? You want to share a space. At least that's my
Yeah, I want to say first of all about, like, this is an example of how words can be used, like the energy behind words, the way you say something, what kind of energy. Another example would be how you behave, like your actions, even things like facial expressions. Like right now we look a little bit like we are like being a bit blended by this clear sky, bright sky.
Yeah.
But
so
we look a little bit like, we look a bit like weird at you, but that's not the intention. Like, it's just like kind of a protection mechanism from our eyes to not be blended. But for example, one thing that is also very, very common within psychology is the smile example. Like, smiling has such a big impact on people around you. Not always and every time, but when you see, like literally, when a human being, when you see someone smiling, you tend to smile as well, because of certain neurons in our brains. And just knowing that shows how important it is also how we approach people.
Yes. I am going to check how much battery I have left. It's 10%. We have left on my phone.
Yeah, we can also stop it soon. But
yeah.
I just want to give this example. Plus, I wanted to maybe come to another topic, unless you want to say something else about this topic.
Yes, I do. But you can also say what you want to talk about.
I wanted to hop into the topic of giving space, because you were all really touching upon that. So it's kind of also kind of development from the other topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe you want to say something else first.
Maybe I can say something about giving space in relation to smiling.
Yes.
Because smiling to me is a very natural process that happens when it needs to happen in a way. And I also feel, I completely feel what you say about how much influence it has on people in general around you. So when you really smile in an authentic way, so in just in a natural way, you have, the world is at your feet in a certain way. You really feel that it has such an influence on the people around you, and it really attracts people. If you are naturally smiling, if you're naturally really happy. However, if you force it, or if you feel really bad and you force a smile, then it's gonna look very different than when you feel good and you just smile naturally. I'm not saying you should never force a smile, because I think trying to smile even when you're sad can really make a difference in your mood. But at the same time, I feel actually even more drawn to just being sad if I'm really sad. If I'm really sad, I just want to be sad. I don't want to try to be happy. I don't want to try to do anything else other than just being sad and just going through that, because I know if I don't force anything, I will be out of it in no time.
Yeah.
You know, it's really about accepting whatever emotion is there in the moment. If it can be completely accepted, it can move and it can be exactly what it wants to be. But I feel it's a lot about really not trying to manipulate it. And that is also a reason why I feel that's a reason why smiling, if it's in a natural way, then you're not going to resist it. And because you don't resist it, it comes out super naturally, and that's why it's so infectious. But that's also the reason why every emotion is infectious. It's not just smiling. Every emotion that's authentic is infectious. That's just the way it is. And when you are trying to be sad, if you're happy, then it's going to look forced. But the same goes for the other way around. And I would like to emphasize that I would never ask of anybody to force us to try to be happy when they're not.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense. You're two different persons in that moment. And yeah, I feel there's a lot more power and a lot more space. Somebody can just be sad or happy, but happiness is generally accepted, and that's maybe another topic. Why is sadness not generally accepted?
Yeah, that's maybe
because it is in a certain way.
Wow, I would love to dive into this topic also in one video actually.
Yeah.
I would love to make one video just about that.
Yeah.
But coming to this point that you just made, it's a very important point, the authenticity of feelings and emotions. And it's a lot about honoring what you feel and what you experience. Yeah, not forcing anything. So really good one. This thing of like smiling being contagious doesn't mean that we have to smile all the time, because it's not natural. I would say generally there are some people that tend to smile more than others, but the same way we also experience other feelings and emotions that we have to honor the same way as a smile, and that is also can be contagious, as you said. And it's not like a bad or good thing. It's just something that is natural, it is authentic, it is part of the human experience. And yeah, I would love to invite everyone living on this planet to really embrace your feelings and emotions exactly the way they are, without distinguishing between good and bad emotions, but just embracing them, all of them, because they are all part of us. It's not only like, oh yeah, being happy and joyful is good, and being sad and angry is not good, but they're all they're all super welcome, and it's very important to experience them. That brings me actually straight to like maybe a little experience from myself, that For most of my life, let's say until like 2 years ago, I was very disconnected from my feelings and emotions. I was not aware about them. It's called better like that. I was not aware about them, and I slowly started by meeting different people and being in different places in the world, where places that literally really encourage you to feel and experience different emotions. They changed something within me, so they made a big shift happen, and I started to connect more to my feelings and emotions, and a whole new world opened up for me. And I really had this idea in my head that feeling sad, feeling angry, or any of the let's say more negative emotions, if I've experienced them, that I'm weak, that I'm not supposed to feel them, because I have to be happy and joyful all the time, because then I'm strong, mentally or in general in my life. And that was like a big shifting point for me. And I'm curious to also know how all of you guys experience feelings and emotions, and how you see them.
We would love to hear from you, because we have only 2 perspectives.
Yeah.
And you guys have a lot more.
Yeah.
So I mean, we all have one per person, but we are super how do you say? Curious, very interested, and very we would love to just hear about all your experiences as far as this goes. I think I need to check one more time.
Yeah, but we can also finish this now.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
That's good.
We've touched upon several different topics, starting mainly from what did we start with?
We started with our experiences from the last couple of days, I think.
Yeah.
Days and weeks. And then we got into I don't even remember.
We will see when we look at it again.
Yeah.
But we finished off with feelings and emotions, and we also talk about energies and energies that you use in your daily life.
Yeah.
And we're curious to hear from you, your thoughts, your input, and lots of love
Lots of
from
love.
Spain to all of you. Oh.